In this video, I am going to show you how to use the official calculator that you can use on the GED math test. It's the Texas Instruments TI-30XS. And hopefully you can get one of these calculators. You can buy them at many stores, on Amazon, eBay, and you can get them new or used. Now, if you become familiar with this calculator and get really good with it, it can boost your score on the math test anywhere from 1, 2, or even 3 points. Now remember, on the GED math test, there are 46 questions. For 5 of the questions, you may not use a calculator. But for the other 41 questions, you can use this calculator. And if you have your own, you can use it during the real test. If you don't have one, you will have access to an online version of the calculator that looks similar to this. These are the topics I will be covering in this video. You can pause the video and read through this. Now, the first thing I want to go over is the mode button. So if you have a calculator in front of you, hit the mode button right here. And you want to make sure this is highlighted here. These are the default settings: norm or degree, norm, float, and math print. So make sure these are highlighted. Let's say, for example, it looked like this. I'll just change them up on you. And it looked like this. And remember, you want that math print highlighted. So all you would do is just scroll down with your down arrow, move to the right, highlight math print, and hit enter. And now everything's correct. So again, you want to make sure this is what your screen looks like: degree, norm, float, math print. Now, just remember, there's a lot of green wordings and symbols on this calculator. They're above many of the buttons. Whenever you want to access any words or symbols above the buttons, you have to hit the second button first before you do that. So what I want to do here is quit out of this screen. Now you can hit clear here, but I recommend that you use the quit button instead. So to get back to the home screen, I want to quit out of here. Quit is in green, right? So to access anything in green, you hit the second button first. Once I hit this second button, I'm going to do that right now. Once I've done that, all the stuff in green above the buttons is in play. So I'll hit second, which I already did, and then hit mode. And now I'm back at my home screen. Let's go back to the mode again. I'll hit mode again. And you should notice that everything is set correctly. Now, as I'm doing this video, each time I hit a button, it will turn red. That will help you follow along. So I'm going to quit out again, second mode. Let's look at these problems here with the fractions. Let's add 2/7 plus 1/2. So your fraction button is right here. Just click on that right here. Your numerator is the 2. And by the way, this N represents numerator, the D represents denominator. So let's type in a 2. I'll hit 2. To get down to the bottom, I'll hit the down arrow and I'll type in my 7. Then I want to add. Now here's what a lot of students do. At this point here, while the cursor is down in the denominator, they hit plus. Watch what happens when you do that. You get a plus down at the bottom. I don't want that. So if you do that, no worries. Just hit your back arrow and hit delete. Okay, now we were at this point here. To get the cursor back into its normal position, you need to hit this right arrow, then hit plus. And then I'll enter the fraction 1/2. So here's your fraction button. Now again, the cursor's down at the bottom. Hit your right arrow to get it back in its normal position and hit enter. When you're all done. Right here. It's 11/14. So 2/7 plus 1/2 is 11/14. Let's try another one. This one here. I'm going to hit clear. 2/7 times 1/2. Hit your fraction button. Times. Hit your fraction button again for the 1/2. Get your cursor back in its normal position. Hit enter when you're all done. and you get 1/7. Now, if you were to do this on paper, you might get 2/14, but what's so cool about this calculator is it will give you your answer in reduced form. Let's go to the next one. I'm going to show you how to change a fraction to a decimal. There's two methods. Now, most of you, when you see a fraction like 1/8, here's how most students do it. They just go 1 divided by 8. And you get 0.125. That's okay. I'm just going to show you two other methods to do it. I prefer this top method. So just enter this fraction. Again, here's your fraction button. 1 on top, 8 on the bottom. Hit your right arrow. And after you've entered your fraction right here, type in enter or punch in enter right here. And 1/8 shows up again. Then after you've done that, hit your double arrow button. This is called a toggle button, and watch what happens. Converts it to a decimal. So 1/8 is equal to 0.125. I prefer this method. Let me show you method 2. Type in the fraction again. I've done this button. Now what you're going to do here, this is method 2, is you're going to, instead of hitting enter like I did here, you're going to look for this notation in green. This means the F stands for fraction. The double arrow means it will convert it to a decimal. So it means it goes from fraction to decimal, or it also goes in the other direction, from decimal back to fraction. So that's right above the table button right here. Remember, to access this, I need to hit the second button first. So I'll do that, and then I'll hit this. And the fraction to decimal stuff shows up. When I'm all done with that, I hit enter. And I get 0.125 as well. I prefer this method on the top. Let's convert this to a fraction. Same thing. You'll just do it this way. And again, there's method. You can use method 2 like I did in the previous slide. I'm not going to here. I prefer this method. 0.375. Just punch that in, hit enter, then hit your toggle button. And 0.375 is equal to 3/8. All right, let's do this one. Enter this fraction. Hopefully you're getting good at entering fractions. Hit your right arrow. So 8/32. I punch this in with this button, hit enter. Now here, I want to show you something. What I'm doing here is I'm going to reduce this fraction. Watch what happens. So I punched it in. Watch what happens when I hit enter. It automatically reduces this for you to 1/4. And then I want to convert the 1/4 to a decimal. So now I just hit the toggle button to convert this to a decimal. There you go. So 8/32 is equal to 1/4, which is equal to 0.25. Let's look at mixed fractions. This is the button for mixed fractions. So the U here represents the unit, or the whole number. So in this case, the U is really the 4. The N, again, is the denominator, which in this case is 3. And the N is the numerator, which is 3. And the D represents the denominator, which is 7. So we need to find this. Let me clear this out. It's right above the fraction button in green, right here. So it's second fraction. Just punch it in. You have 3 spaces to punch it in. So 4 from here. Hit your right arrow. 3. Hit your down arrow. Type in your 7. Now once you've done that, make sure you get your cursor back to its normal positioning. So hit your right arrow. And then just hit enter right here. There you go. So 4 3/7 is the same as 31/7. This is called a mixed fraction. This is an improper fraction because the numerator, the number on top, is bigger than the denominator, the number on the bottom. Now let's say I wanted to convert this to a decimal now. What do you think I would do? I would just hit the toggle button. So it's equal to 4.42 about. So mixed fraction, improper fraction, decimal. Let's keep going here. Let's take this improper fraction now and convert it to a mixed fraction. So these are the sequence of buttons I need to hit. Let's punch this in. done this. Hit enter. Now, what happened here? Why was this changed, 48 over 9 to 16 over 3? Because the calculator reduced this for you. It's really cool, but it's still an improper fraction. I want to change it to a mixed fraction. So now you need to locate this symboling right here. Now, let me show you how to read this. This means it's taking the improper fraction. These double arrows means it's converting it to a mixed fraction, or vice versa. You can take the mixed fraction and convert it back to an improper fraction. So I'm looking for this symboling. It's right above this button here, this symbol right here. I said symboling. I don't even know if that's a word. So it's right here. So I'm going to hit second, and then this stuff shows up, and I'll hit enter. There you go. So 48 over 9, when I reduce it, is 16 over 3. Written as a mixed fraction, it's 5 1/3. And let's say I wanted to convert this now to a decimal. Just hit your toggle button right here. And it's about 5.33. So let's say you needed to go back up and find the 48 over 9. It kind of disappeared. It's all the way up here. If you want to scroll back up, just hit your up arrow right here. Just keep hitting it. Right there. That was my original problem. So 48 over 9 is the same as 16 over 3, which is the same as 5 1/3, which is the same as 5.333, and so on. Let's look at this one here. Let's look at, sometimes when you hit clear, it has all this stuff. Just keep hitting clear if that happens, or go second mode to quit out of here. Just go second mode and then hit clear, and everything will clear out. Sometimes it takes a while to clear all that out. Now, here's 28 over 5. Let's enter this. And I want to change this to a mixed fraction. I'm going to hit enter right here. This stayed the same now. Well, the reason it stayed the same is because this is already reduced. So when you hit enter, it just gave you the same thing back, and then you'll look for this again. So I'll hit right here. I'll hit enter, and 28/5 is the same as 5 3/5. And if you want to change that to a decimal now, just hit your toggle button right here. It's 5.6. Let's do some operations with mixed fractions. Let's say I wanted to go 3 1/2 minus 1 1/9. So for this situation, you're looking for this symbol right here above the fraction button, and then you'll be able to enter your mixed fractions. So let's do that. Looking for this right here. It's in green, so I'll go second, this button. There we go. Just enter this in. So I'll type in my 3 here. Hit your right arrow to get to the numerator. Put in your 1. Scroll down. Put in your 2. And we're going to subtract here. So make sure you hit your right arrow here. Subtraction. And then I'll enter the other mixed fraction. And then I'll hit enter. And I'm good to go. So 3 1/2 minus 1 1/9 is 43 over 18. But I want to now convert this to a mixed fraction. So I'll need to locate this notation here to convert a mixed fraction to this converts an improper fraction. It converts it to a mixed fraction. So let's locate this right here. It's right here. So I'll hit second, this button, hit enter, and now this is a mixed fraction. So the answer to this is 43/18, or you can write it as 2 7/18, or you can write it as a decimal. Just hit your toggle button and be about 2.38. Well, let's keep going. And this video is a little long. If you need to take a break, please do. This is really powerful right here, converting to percents. So I want to convert this 3/8 to a percent. So these are the sequence of buttons I will need to hit. Find your fraction button. 3/8. Okay, so I've done this. Now I'm looking for this notation, the symbol here. What this means, this arrow, is it means it converts whatever you punched in to a percent. And it's right above the closed parenthesis right here. So just hit second, close parenthesis, then hit enter. Check it out. 3/8 is equal to 37.5%. Let's try another one. Let's do this one. 2.75. Now, let's convert this to a percent right here. Second, closed parenthesis, enter. So 2.75 is equal to 275%. Sometimes you get some little story problems. The calculator can help you with that. So let's say I had 3% of 224. So what's so cool about this calculator is you can just tack on a percent. You don't need to change 3% to a decimal. So watch how I do this. I'm looking for this percent symbol, which is right above the open parenthesis. So notice the difference between this and this. This just means you're going to tack a percent onto the number. This one here, what we used before, is converting to a percent. So I'm looking for this one. So type in 3. And then I need to access this. So I'm going to hit second, open parenthesis. Well, let me start that again. 3, second, open parenthesis. And see how when I hit second, open parenthesis, it tacked on a percent next to the 3. So cool. Of, in this problem, means multiplication. 224. So the answer to this, 3% of 224, is 6.72. Let's keep going. You can do some story problems too. 24 out of 96 students in class are boys. What percent are boys? So 24 out of 96 is just a fraction. This is my numerator. This is my denominator. So I'll hit my fraction button and punch that in. And what I want to do now is take this fraction and convert it to a percent. So I'm going to hit this button right here. So I'll hit second, close parenthesis. And then I'll hit enter. There you go. So it says what percent are boys? Well, 25% of the students in this class are boys from right here. Let's keep going. Now I want to show you how to do squares. So I'm going to just enter these 3. So the square button is right here. So let's enter this. This is negative 3 squared. So the negative is right here. This is your subtraction. Negative. So negative 3 squared right here. It's right here. And then just hit enter. So this actually gives you negative 9. And the reason you're getting a negative here is because there's not a set of parentheses around the negative 3. What the calculator is doing here is squaring the 3 and then bringing down the negative sign. So when it's entered like this, you get negative 9. Let's do it this way now. Parenthesis, open parenthesis, negative 3, close the parenthesis, and square it, which is right here. Then hit enter. So when it's entered with parentheses around the negative number, you'll get out a positive. So when it's written like this, it comes out to be positive 9. Let's try this one. Fractions. So open parenthesis, enter your fraction button, or hit your fraction button. Now remember, once you've done that, don't forget to hit your right arrow. A lot of students hit this close parenthesis at this point, and it looks like this. That happens, no worries. Just go back and hit delete, and hit your right cursor. Then type in this closed parenthesis, and then square it. Right here. Hit enter, and this is 9/16. Let's look at some square roots. The square root is this symbol. It's right above the x squared. This is in green, so we'll have to hit that second button to access this. Let's try this one. The square root of 81. Hopefully you know that's 9. Let's do it. So we're going to use this symbol right here, second x squared. Or 81. Now you can hit enter at this point, but I think it's a good idea to hit your cursor to get out of the square root. It's just a good habit. Then hit enter. This is 9. Let's do the next one. Negative square root 81. I'm going to not clear this out. I'll just punch this in. So negative square root second x squared 81. enter. This one gives us negative 9. So this one's 9, this is negative 9. Let's try this one and see what happens. Now the negative sign's inside the square root, so I'll type in the square root first. Should look like this. You get an error here. So whenever you have a negative inside the square root, the calculator will give you an error. It just means that this answer is undefined. Let's look at a couple more here. Square root of 13. Watch what happens when I do this. So square root again is right here. Second x squared 13. I like to hit my right arrow. Hit enter. You get the same thing. It just means that this square root is already in its most simple form. But let's say you wanted this as a decimal. What do you think I would do? Just hit your toggle button and it will write it as a decimal. So it's about 3.60. Let's try another one. Let's do this one. Now watch what happens when I hit enter here. It rewrites the square root of 24 as 2 square root 6. It didn't give you the same thing back. So if you know how to simplify square roots, this will make sense to you. So the square root of 24 is equal to 2 square root 6, but I don't want it written in this form. I'll probably want it written as a decimal, so I'll just hit my toggle button. And it's about 4.898 and so on. So the square root of 24 is equal to 2 square root 6, which is equal to about 4.89. Let's practice this. I just want to enter these real quick for practice. These are kind of complicated. So let's see if we can do this. This says the square root of 3 squared plus 4 squared. So we're going to be using the square root and the square. So let's do this. Second x squared, and then I'll go 3 squared plus 4 squared. Should look like this. I'll hit my right arrow. The answer here is 5. Let's try this one. Now this is really a fraction. My numerator is all this stuff on the top. My denominator is the stuff on the bottom. So I'm going to hit my fraction button. Check this out. And let's go 2 square root 9. I'll just punch this in. So 2 square root 9. Now my addition sign is outside the square root, unlike here. So what I need to do now is hit my right arrow to get the cursor outside of the square root. Plus 4 squared. Here's my squared button. Go down to the denominator. And then I'll type this in. Square root of 6 minus 2. 6. Now the minus is inside the square root, and so is the 2. So I'm not going to hit this button. Just go minus 2. And then at this point you can hit enter, but I always like to get the cursor back to its normal position. I think it's a good habit. So watch. I'm going to hit it, the right arrow once. That takes it outside the square root. I'm going to hit it again, and then it puts it into its normal position. Again, you didn't have to do that. I just think it's a good habit. So I actually hit this twice. I'll hit enter. The answer here is 11 from right here. All right, let's keep going. I hope you're still with me. Sometimes these, the base here, or the number, is raised to a power other than 2. So if it's squared, you just hit this button. But this is to the power of 4. So to do this, you'll need to find this button here, the caret or up arrow. It's right here. So let's just enter this. Close parenthesis, -2. I'm sorry, I meant to say open parenthesis here, and then close parenthesis here. To the power of 4. So I'll just hit this. Right here, I hit this button right here, and that shifts this up. Type in a 4. You can hit enter at this point, but I like to get this back to its normal position. And the answer to this is 16. Let's do this one. This is called a cubed root. Let me show you how to do this. This is the cubed root of 512. It just means what number multiplied by itself 3 times gives you 512. So here's how you do this. You need to find this notation right here. But before I do that, I'm going to actually type in the 3 first. Then I'm going to find this symbol, which is right above the caret button right here. So I'll hit second caret, and then I'll type in my 512. I'll hit my right arrow, hit enter. So the answer to this is 8 right here. And you might see something like this on the GED math test. And if you really think about it, if you go 8 times 8 times 8 3 times, you'll get 512. Let's look at negatives real quick. A lot of students do this on their phone. It's easier on the calculator. This is how you read this. -8 minus -4. Or -8 subtract -4. Your subtraction sign is right between the two numbers. And this is a negative and this is a negative. So you punch it in like this. Your negative is this. This is subtraction or minus. Sometimes I interchange these words. They are subtly different, but here's how you would do this. -8 subtract -4. And this gives you -4 as your answer. Now, this will give you the exact same answer. In textbooks, they don't write it this way. They always put a set of parentheses around the final number. And they always do that when you have when you have a subtraction sign and a negative sign next to each other, they will put a set of parentheses around this number. But these really mean the same thing. And you will get the same answer if you punch this in. I'll show you real quick. -8 subtract and you got the exact same thing. So you will see it written this way. And a lot of times I just like to write it this way. What do you think this is? Well, this is -8 subtract 4. So -8 subtract or minus 4. And this is -12. The calculator can also figure out the mean and the median. Remember, mean is another word for average. So let's assume we wanted to find the average and median of this set of numbers. Let's pretend it's temperature. This would be 8 degrees above 0, 7 degrees above 0, 5 below 0, and so on. The first thing you're going to want to do is enter this data on your calculator. So you're going to look for the data button. It looks like this. It's right here. Now when I hit the data button, there were some numbers in here from some previous work. Hopefully that's not the case for you. It should be all cleared out. But if it isn't, no worries. Just hit your delete button repeatedly until all those numbers disappear. Now there are 3 columns here. This is list 1, list 2, list 3. We are going to be entering this data into list 1. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll start with 8. One note, every time you enter or you press a number, you have to hit enter afterwards. So I'll be hitting 8, enter, 7, enter, -5, enter, and so on. Let's start with the 8. 8, enter, 7, enter, and so on. -5, enter. Remember, with the negative numbers, use this button here, not the subtraction button. So we're at -5, then 12, enter, -5 again, enter, -7, enter, -11, enter, and then 6, 14, and -9. 6, enter, 14, enter, -9, enter. Now you want to make sure that you enter these correctly. So what I do is I go back to the top of the table. Now, if you notice now, I'm at the bottom of the table. And what this means, this 11, it means it's the 11th entry in list 1. Well, I only had 10 entries in here. That's why the 11th entry is empty. If you want to get back to the top of the table, you can either hit your down arrow or you can hit your up arrow repeatedly. You'll have to hit the up arrow repeatedly, so I think it's just easier to hit the down arrow. Now I'm at the top of the table. And again, I can tell where I am in the table. I'm at the first entry in list 1, and it equals 8. As you can see, that matches up here, so I'm just going to double check this. 8, 7, -5, 12, -5, -7, -11, 6, 14, -9. Now if you're careful, you don't need to do this. but I just wanted to double check it. Now I am going to show you how to quickly find the average or mean and then the median. So next you're going to look for this stat. It's right above the data button in green. So I'll hit second data. And this shows up. Don't touch anything. Just leave it here and hit enter. And then L1 should be highlighted. And where it says frequency, that should be 1. You shouldn't have to change anything here. You won't have to. Just scroll down to calc. Now once the calc is blinking, hit enter. The mean or the average is the second thing down, right here. You're done. It says on the calculator X bar. That's just a fancy way to write mean or average. So this X bar, or the second row down, it says X bar equals 1. That's your mean. That's your average, and you're done. So the mean or average temperature is 1 degree. Now let's scroll down, and now I'm going to look for median, M-E-D. Just keep scrolling down till it says M-E-D. You don't need all this other stuff. It's the 9th row down. It says M-E-D. That equals 0.5. So the median temperature is 0.5 degrees. Now remember, the median temperature is the temperature in this data set that's right in the middle, i.e. it's the middle temperature. So to find the median without using the calculator, you would have to order these numbers from smallest to largest and then find the number in the middle. And you should notice that this 0.5 is not even on this list, but you don't need to worry about that if you're using the calculator. Just go down to row 9. Right, the median is 0.5. So that's a quick way to find the average and the median. Let's move on. Standard notation to scientific notation. This is so cool. Oh, by the way, I want to get out of here. I'm going to hit second quit. I want to clear out of here. By the way, when you quit out of here, out of that table, you didn't lose your data in the table. If you go back to data, the numbers are still there. I just want to go back to my home screen. Let's go to scientific notation. So this is called standard notation or normal notation, and I want to switch it to scientific notation. This is really cool. All you need to do is go to your mode right here, click on mode, and change your settings to SCI right here. So I'm going to scroll down, hit my right arrow, and hit enter. And now it's in scientific notation mode. I'm going to quit out of here and watch. Again, watch what happens when I hit mode. I'm no longer in normal mode. I want to be in this mode now. And just punch this number in, 415012. Hit enter. And check it out. It writes this number in scientific notation and you're done. So 415012 is equal to 4.15012 times 10 to the power of 5. Let's try another one. And again, to do this, you got to make sure you're in the SCI mode. I'm going to type this in. 0.037012. Enter. Check it out. It wrote it in scientific notation. So 0.037012 is equal to this, 3.7012 times 10 to the power of negative 2. Let's keep going. Let's say I wanted to go in the other direction. I want to go from scientific notation to standard notation. So let's clear this out. So I need to go back to my mode now, right here. Right here. And I need to go back to normal notation. That's what standard notation means. It means normal notation. Scroll down and hit enter. So now I'm in standard or normal notation. Quit out of here. Let's just enter this. And I'm looking for this button. There's a times 10 button where I can enter this. So 6.1 08907 right here. Now there's a times 10 button on here. It's right here. Just hit this. Isn't that cool? And then it's to the power of 7, so type a 7 into this box. You can hit enter at this point, but I like to get my cursor back to normal notation. Then hit enter. There you go. So this is equal to this number, which I think is 6,060,890,700. So you could just write this number over here if you needed to. Let's try this one. Hit clear. Now remember on this one, I got to make sure I'm in normal notation. So 9 times 10 is right here to the power of negative 7. Hit enter. There you go. So this is equal to this number right here. Let's look at a couple more with scientific notation. It says scientific notation to standard notation. It says, what is the sum of the following? Write your answer in scientific notation and standard notation. So first I want to write my answer in scientific notation. So let's go back to mode and highlight SCI and hit enter, and I'm good to go. It says the sum. So the sum is addition. So I'm going to add these two up. So I'm going to go 5.6 times 10 to the power of 2. Hit your right arrow. Plus, because we're summing it, 8 times 10 to the power of 4. Hit enter. There you go. So when I add these two, this is my answer in scientific notation. It's 8.056 times 10 to the 4th. But I also want to write it in standard notation. So here's how you switch this back to standard. Go to mode again. Go back to normal or standard notation right here. Hit enter. Quit out of here. And then hit enter again. And now it's written as normal notation. So that's 80,560. So this is scientific. This would be normal or standard notation. It says what happened. Now remember, let's go back to mode. We are in normal notation. I am not scientific notation. So when I punch this in, I should get an answer in standard or normal notation. So let's do this. It says find the product of these two numbers. Product implies multiply. So I'm going to multiply these two together. 8774000 times 68,000. Now remember, I'm in normal notation. I hit enter. What happened? Is your calculator broken? I'm in normal or standard notation, but it gave me my answer in scientific notation. Why do you think that happened? That happened because when you multiply these answers, your product is so large that the calculator cannot fit the answer in on the screen in standard notation. So it automatically had to convert it to scientific notation. So again, when you're dealing with really large or really small numbers, your answer could end up in a scientific notation, even though your mode setting is in normal notation. Your calculator is not broken. Now let me show you how to round numbers using this calculator. This is really cool. We're going to take this number, 2,587.5952, and we are going to round it to the nearest whole number, tenths place, hundredths place, and thousandths place. The first thing you want to do is hit your mode button, and then scroll down to float. So I'll hit my down arrow until the float is blinking. Then I'm going to hit my right arrow until the 0 is blinking. Now when the 0 is highlighted, it will round the number to the nearest whole number. When the 1 is highlighted, it will round the number to the nearest tenths place. When the 2 is highlighted, it will round the number to the nearest hundredths place. And when the 3 is highlighted, it will round the number to the nearest thousandths place, and you can just keep on going. So we first want to round this number to the nearest whole number, so I need to go back to 0. That's blinking. Hit enter. Now get out of here. We need to quit, so hit second mode. Punch in this number, 2587.5952. Make sure this matches up with this and just hit enter. Check it out. It took this number and rounded it to the nearest whole number. So this rounded to the nearest whole number is 2,588. Now I'm not going to clear this. You can, but just leave it in. It makes it easier. So now we're just going to do the tens place. So go back to mode. Go down to float. And instead of having the 0 highlighted, move over to the 1. Hit enter, and now it will round it to the nearest tens place. So get out of here, second mode, hit enter again, and now it took this number and rounded it to the nearest tens place. So this number rounded to the tens place is 2,587.6. Let's do the hundreds place and the thousands place. Just keep going. Mode, go down to float. Now highlight the 2, hit enter, quit out of here, hit enter again, and now this is to the nearest hundreds place. It's 2587.60. And let's finally do the thousands place. Mode, go down to float, have the 3 highlighted, hit enter, quit out, hit enter, and now it rounded this number to the nearest thousands place, which is 2587.595. Now it's very important that when you're done using this rounding feature on the calculator, that you get your calculator back to its default settings before you move on to the next problem on the GED math test. There's 2 ways to do that. You can hit mode right here and then simply scroll down to float. So use your down arrow. And then when the float is highlighted, hit enter. And you will notice that once you do that, none of the numbers next to float are highlighted. And that's the default setting, and you're good to go. Quit out of here. And then you can clear this out. And then you can start the next problem. Now another way to do it is as follows. You can simply reset your memory. And that will put everything back to the default settings. So here's the word reset. It's above 0. It's in green. Hit second 0. It says reset. You'll scroll down to yes. And then you will hit enter. It says memory cleared, and you're all good to go. The calculator is now at its default settings. So 2 ways to do it. Hope this was helpful. Have a great day.